pigeon. Third overlook. Oh, the Bishop's Garden, and appurtenance to this Lutheran church. This church was in 1219, and then 10 years later replaced. In 1240 it was dedicated. In 1853, this area was filled with houses, this park that we'll see in a moment. And then the fire that came in 1684 razed all of those houses, which were then permanently removed. Became a garden for the bishop. This was the Bishop's Garden, probably without that automated toilet, and probably, or maybe without this wall, and including perhaps portions beyond that building's view. Considerably less interesting, except that we see more from above of that old moat and the outline of its defensive earthen structure. Interesting. Old well. Let's take a look down inside. I was intrigued by a well on top of a mount like this. How far down did they go? How hard was it to get there? That appears to be a picture of the long leg, and here the short leg, which will that was part of the old lock mechanism. You can see here in the back of the door, that hole would have, and that other device would have set over that, and you could put a lock on it, perhaps. So those would have been barriers, but why on the outside? There you can see on the side the pivot points for a large door, and perhaps that large square was a means by which they could close that off. Notice there's a beam still protruding slightly out of that left wall. Would have held the door in place when it was open. It's probably an old conduit that carried power so you could charge your cell phone if you were guarding the gate. This is the way it was, at least at one point in time, probably for much of its history. This is the way it is now. Down there is the tourist center, where you see those little flags through the trees on the left. This was the short leg up to the top. Vendors waiting for the cruise ship. This was the town prison. Building was the original town prison, now a museum. We'll come back and visit this. Right at one of the corners of the town square, that prison is literally behind the city hall, which made sense in its day. Just as I was about to put my camera away, I saw this excellent facsimile, if not an original. And even if it's original, we don't know for what time frame. But that large axle gives it some credibility, not to mention the rope. I wonder if that large axle configuration creates more working power. Really a more substantial structure up there for sure. The more usual, simpler kind. Now this car drive by and said, well, that's another electric Razor, because that's what it sounds like. It's an Alfa Romeo, and then I realized I owned an Alfa Romeo convertible sports car maybe 50 years ago.